Hi Internet, I'm Tango, and these are Tango's Takes. In the take for today, Thursday, April 29th. I did not just try to backtrack to February. That would be horrible. 2021 is overtime versus comp time. Okay. You have probably heard both of those terms if you are of working age. They are not equivalent. They are not used the same way at all. Overtime is paid to hourly employees, wage employees, basically people who are quite literally paid by the hour for work done. In the United States, any time more than 40 hours in a week is subject to overtime if you are an hourly employee. And overtime is generally time and a half. Now, I've said that. In some states, the laws are more detailed and more beneficial to the worker. For example, once upon a time, and may still be the case in California, more than 8 hours in a day is overtime. More than 5 days in a row is overtime. And day 6 and day 7 trigger different kinds of overtime. And as I recall, those stacked with holidays. So if day 6 or day 7 in a row ran more than 8 hours and was on a holiday, you were being compensated a lot as things go. It assumes you were making a decent rate to begin with. Comp time is a thing that applies to salary employees who are exempt from overtime, which is what I'm currently classified as. And don't get me started on whether or not that's right. That's a whole different conversation with a lot more legalese and stuff behind it that I care to deal with. Salaried employees are paid based on the theory that they will average 40 hours a week of work week. Now, you might occasionally have a 60-hour work week, but that should be balanced out with shorter weeks. If you're not, you shouldn't be being paid salaried. You should be getting paid more because your salary is meant to be built around the assumption of a 40-hour work week. And if they're telling you otherwise, they're full of it. Comp time works like this, in a general sense, because the specifics of how it's implemented can vary a bit by state or local rules or even by company if it's not clearly defined. Comp time should balance out so that you are averaging 40 hours a week. So if you did work 60 hours a week one week, you could take 10 hours of comp time over other time so that if you averaged those weeks together with the week that you worked over, each week would work out to 40 hours. Now, under my current setup, we're entitled to comp time within the pay period, which our pay periods run half a month. This gets weird when you start racking up extra hours and it's tomorrow and the next day is the end of the pay period kind of thing. It's harder to do because you still have to balance coverage needs. Good bosses, good management will hand wave it a bit. It depends on the specifics of how the contract or the employment works. But let's say that I had an employee who, because of a late call or something tomorrow, suddenly had 3 hours of time over. I can't give them comp time. Tomorrow's the end of the pay period. But I could, in fairness, and this is out of fairness and not necessarily legal, it's important, tell them to leave an hour early 3 days in a row at some other time or take long lunches or whatever. Basically, give them 3 hours off in another pay period and instruct them to still clock as if they were working. That is not necessarily legal, but is a lot of things good bosses do to balance out what can sometimes be different unfair practices, because people who are entitled to comp time do not make overtime. If you think that you're being paid fairly for 60 hours a week, I would figure out what your hourly rate is and verify that yourself. Overtime and comp time are not the same. One gets you extra money, but you actually have to work the hours. The idea behind the other one is you balance out to an average number of hours, but you don't get the random bursts of money. Your paycheck is the same every time it shows up, unless somebody mysteriously gives you a performance bonus or something. Know the difference. And if you're curious about whether or not you should be a wage employee or a salary employee, you're going to have to go look up those legal definitions on your own and consult with a employment legal professional in your area. I can't offer that information. Stay safe and healthy out there, and I will catch you all next time.